NFL season starting, so we're representing, and it's not been a good day for the Cardinals. I'm sure it will not be a good start for the Chargers, but we'll stick by them because we love the sport. But we're not here for talking about the NFL. We're here for MMA. That's what we're here for, Will. But how's your weekend gone? How are you feeling, mate, after the recent UFC pay-per-view card? How are you feeling after it?
Weekend, it's been Sunday's always a rough day for me because I've been working all week, and then I was obviously up till 6 o'clock, and then I was up very early with the little one this morning as well, so yeah, I'm kind of running fumes, but the NFL is kind of keeping me going, and then we've got another card to kind of look forward to next week, so yeah, it's not been too bad. Last night was decent, and yeah, there was a lot of kind of talking points coming from the event regarding commissions, certain fights, underdog fighters coming through. So yeah, it was it was one of those cards you get every year where the underdogs seem to come through quite a bit, and that's what happened last night.
It was indeed, yeah. If you put your money on the underdogs, you were laughing. So Will, what fights? Let's look at the card then. Well, I think the surprise was the start of the card. I think everyone pretty much had their eyes on Adriana Martins going in there and getting a finish, but then Kajan Johnson did nothing till the third round, and then landed. It didn't look like much, but it was a shot that went behind the ear and kind of just slapped Adriana Martins, which he did get hit with earlier on in the later part of the second round. But as a whole, it was probably not the best start to the card. Even though the finish was woo, it was a pretty terrible fight, to be brutally honest with you.
It was terrible. I was more interested in a kind of DraftKings perspective because Demetrius fell out, which sucked. So you had to kind of leverage a play, and I think he was next in line, but I managed to stay away from him and go for somebody else. But that didn't really turn out great either. So, but no, he was. Adriano Martins has got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of ability, and he just did not show it last night at all. He even with I think he threw 16 strikes over 2.5 minutes.
Ooh, he must be knackered.
He wasn't even flicking out a jab. He was just chasing Kajan Johnson, and Kajan was literally just running away from him. He did not want to engage, and then just slept him with one shot. So he had the opportunities to really, I think, stop that fight. I thought if he had more pressure, more volume to the pressure that he was adding, then he could have finished the fight. But he paid the price for just not having enough output, and got slept.
And I think a big surprise in the card was a heavyweight fight, Will, that went 3 rounds, and it was actually a good 3 rounds. I tip my cap off to Luis Enrique, who's worked hard on his cardio, and Arjun, who made his debut in the UFC. The pair of them, I think, put on a rather bloody good heavyweight fight. I was really mightily impressed by the pair of them, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I was the same. I thought, in my predictions, I had Buller to win via decision. I thought it was really Arjun Buller was one of those guys where there's literally not one fight out there you can watch taping him to have a look at him. There's more wrestling matches than there is fights out there. But you knew what he was going to do. His striking actually surprised me a little bit. I thought he was quite quick with his hands and some of his combinations. And I knew eventually that there was a time when he was going to push Enrique against the cage and take him down from there. And yeah, Enrique, to be fair to him, I think, to me, every time I look at that guy, he just looks really blown out. I think he could, if he got his life in order, I think he could easily make 205. And look like a svelte guy, but he just looks too blown out to me. And then his cardio was better, in all honesty, but Buller just had a little bit too much for him in his debut. But interested to see what they do with Buller, because if he wins a few fights, I don't think he's that good, but he's got that Indian background behind him. If he was to win a couple of fights, he'd have all those people behind him as well, and he's got Canada. So nice to see a new heavyweight come into UFC, and we'll see where he kind of goes from here and if he can continue his winning streak.
Yeah, new blood is key in that heavyweight division. I think it's vital that they get that in there. I think one of the standout performances, they didn't get a bonus, but again, it's a controversial performance. Rick Glenn against Gavin Tucker. Will, there's a lot to talk about in that fight alone. I think Gavin Tucker, a lot of hype, local boy, like Canadian guy going out there, crowd behind him. Rick Glenn, who is a veteran, put on a masterful performance. You know, he for the first 3 minutes of the fight, gauging Tucker, took his time, got his timings, got his range, and then he started landing at will. And that work that he did at Team Alpha Male it's clearly shown it paid off, and it looked just impressive from start to finish, just basically just picking Gavin Tucker apart at will. His face ballooned up. But the controversial side, Will, is the fact that the referee at no point in the third round, you could have stopped it in the second, let it go to the third, but in the third round at no point did he stop it. Tucker was not really fighting back. It was really poor. This is as well a commission that had the Tim Hague kind of let's say controversy. If people who don't know anything about Tim Hague, he was former MMA, did boxing, had a lot of knockouts, shouldn't have fought in a boxing bout, got hit, passed away because of the head trauma. This commission just really doesn't cement themselves with this kind of performance. You know, the referee not stopping the fight, not doing the job that he should have, but then again, should the corner have thrown in the towel, Will?
I am 100% believer they should have thrown in the towel. I tweeted that last night when I was watching. When it got to the last 2-3 minutes of round number 3, I had my phone in my hand. I was like, they have to throw in the towel. I don't understand corners that don't do that. Your guy is going to fight again, but you can determine how much this takes out of him going forward, and they just had no kind of regard for his kind of health, for his safety. Regarding the commission, I mean, I think it's the first time the UFC have been to Edmonton. It's a fairly new commission. They will get better going forward, but I thought something like the ref in that Glenn Tucker fight was terrible. There was a couple other instances through the night. So they'll get better, but they should have really been in high alert considering the debacle with the Tim Hague issues. They should have been at the top of that and keeping an eye on absolutely everything, and that was just, it did not look good in the slightest. I feel a little bit stupid for picking Gavin Tucker. I must have subdued to the hype. I think I got as a guy that's been around for ages. I mean, he's fought, he's trained with one of the best guys in Duke Rufus for years. He's a tough guy. He's fought tough guys. And he just put an absolute beat down on Gavin Tucker from literally, the first 2 minutes was maybe Tucker, and then from there it was just Rick Glenn as soon as he dropped him. Going to Team Alpha Male full time, not having to work, it's going to show in your skill set going forward. And I think he's a tough guy to face in that featherweight division. I wouldn't like to, if I was a guy that's outside the top 15 and I got the call to face Rick Glenn, I think that would be a very, very tough matchup, and one I certainly would not be looking forward to at all.
So we had, next up, buddy, let's tip our cap off. 2 years out, Sarah Rice comes in and gets a beautiful armbar finish against Ashley Evans-Smith. And what I loved about this submission, Will, is the fact that Ashley Evans-Smith got this down to the ground and was in a powerful, controlling side control. Like, people don't realise how good that side control was. She was heavy, hips were well placed, her knees were well placed. She was in a great position. And Sarah Rice ended the whole thing on top, seated armbar, got the tap. It was fantastic. I think people really slept on, I think Ashley Evans-Smith, slept on Sarah Rice's grappling. I don't think she realised how good. I knew she was good. As soon as I went to the mat, I tweeted about it. I said, this girl is a nightmare on the ground. Because A, her flexibility, and B, her grappling is actually solid. Ashley Evans-Smith, she's one of them girls who got into the UFC, and she's never really shown me anything. She's kind of like, what's the lassie's name, the Hawaiian lass? Kaylin Curran. Got potential, it's there, but I think if you were away from the UFC and you were there to grow, you'd probably flourish a bit more and you'd come in a bit more well established. But I just don't, for me, I don't know if it's because as well Ashley's a vegan, so I heard she likes a bit of meat in her mouth, but you know, who knows. Will, what was your thoughts on that?
I thought, the way I kind of seen the fight going, I had Evans-Smith. I thought that if she could at least keep it on the feet, I thought she had the advantage personally. But the only place I didn't think she had an advantage was pretty much Moraes on the ground. I thought Morris on the ground, she's got those kind of big legs.
Yes.
And if she's very dogged, once she gets a hold of something, she doesn't let go. And I thought Evan Smith just kind of played into maybe what Morris was wanting to do, was get down there and look for submissions. And she got it early. As soon as she got that grip, I was like, because I went after Demetrius Johnson's fell out in DraftKings, I thought, right, I'm not going Adriana Martins. And I was like, yes, he got knocked out. So if Evan Smith could have won pretty handily, I thought I got some cash last night, but not in the slightest. She just got, as soon as Morris got a grip of it, it was kind of done from there, and she transitioned really well, and then she just snapped on that arm pretty much. So, nice win.
Yeah, not bad after two years out. The next fight is another person who's went to Team Alpha Male, Sarah McMahon, but she's only recently gone. I think Sarah McMahon needs a bit more time there. She fought, in a way, Ketlin Vieira. She is still new. She came in, got a win, and then she got a big name in Sarah McMahon, and now she's going to be projected a bit too quick, in my opinion, probably, in the 135 division. Vieira with the head arm choke. Nice finish. I'm a bit concerned, though, myself, because Sarah McMahon has not developed her ground game from her back. Still, to this day, it's beyond me. That's her weakness, that's an Achilles heel, and she's still not sorted it out. In this game, in this level, how can you not address that issue? It's beyond me. The other problem I have is, if for people who don't know jiu-jitsu and how grappling works, a head and arm choke, don't get me wrong, I love a head and arm choke. That's my little thing that I love to get on people. I've got a little vice grip. The thing is, when it's in half guard, it's not that bad. It's nasty, but it's not as bad as when you're out, because your legs lock up. The person can't get free, so the person's not on the other side to get the angle or anything. So the problem here was, all Sarah McMahon had to do was a thing called a lockdown. Will, you might know from commentary and talk about lockdown, is when the leg's in there, you can trap it with both your legs and extend it out. And what that does is, it takes the person's pressure from up here, and because you extend the leg out, it takes the pressure down. And that's all she had to do. It's basic ABC 1, 2, 3 jiu-jitsu, and she didn't do it. And she got into there, the choke got in. Sarah McMahon thought she would come around to the side and go up against the cage, and it didn't work out for her at all. I'm a bit perplexed, really. I don't know why she hasn't bothered spending a bit more time on the ground game, because upstairs on the feet she's a hard hitter. I'm just perplexed, really am. What did you think about the fight yourself, though, watching it?
I think, and I'm not one for saying fighters quit, but I think Sarah McMahon quits. I think when the chips are down, she doesn't believe in herself, and I think it took me a little bit longer to see it than what other people did, but she looks for the door when she knows that she's in trouble. She did it with Ronda. She got hit with the one shot. Now, I don't understand. It wasn't the biggest knee you're ever going to see, and she went down with that. When the Alexis Davis fight, she went back to her the side where she has after the round, and she says, "I can't feel my face," and this and that. And then last night, I think she says when she went back at the end of round 1 that she can't feel her feet. So it's like, what are you gonna, and I think that Vieira was in quite tight on a leg lock towards the end of that round.
Yeah. There's a knee bar, yeah. She had a knee bar on.
I think that she kind of gave that fight away. I think Vieira, she got her to the ground and started working her from there. But Vieira's going to be pushed too quick. But she's got 3 wins in that division, I think, in a row. I think the next person I was looking at, who's probably in line to face Nunes, is going to be Raquel Pennington. She's literally the only girl in there with a winning record in her last few fights. So she's going to be pushed very, very quickly. Interesting to see who she's against next. But Sarah McMahon now, I think, it's a shame, because I think she's got the overall talent. I think she's maybe in the sport a little bit late as well. But I just think she's got that quitter's mentality, and it's a shame. It's weird because she's an Olympic medalist.
Yeah,
and I grant that you should not be quitting in any facet if you're going for the biggest acclaim you can in the sport. And she nearly got there in all honesty. But I think she's got that quitter's mentality. So
it's a different game when you're getting punched in the face.
yeah,
Definitely is. Buddy, let's go. Jeremy Stephens, Gilbert Melendez. Like, I would talk about it, but I want to hear your thoughts on that. Pretty smart fight, if I'm honest with you. I thought it was a very smart, technical fight from Jeremy Stephens. But what do you think, buddy?
That was another fight I was thinking, right, are they going to pull him out of this fight? And I thought, with Nate Diaz in behind him, and he had some other good coaches, I thought, are they going to put it in? I think Melendez had seen there that he was really hurting. And if he got pulled from that one, I don't think it would have pissed him off as much. He was struggling last night, and like his leg was completely mangled from the get-go. Literally 2 minutes into that fight, he was getting leg kicked to death for the next 13, 14 minutes, however long it was. I thought Stephens fought a really smart fight, but he had that start. He had that really good start where he had him hurt. He had an advantage that he could take advantage of at any time, and he did that. But fair play to Melendez. He's got that kind of warrior code. He keeps on coming. I think the crowd appreciated him not staying. I know he felt his back a few times, but he got back up and he tried to give us a fight. And I think they got fight of the night. And fair play to them. I think both guys deserve it for that. So nice to see. Stephens is a guy that's been around for ages, years and years and years, and he's beat some big guys. I mean, he's beat champions, Barao, Dos Anjos. He's beat some big guys as well. So he's got pretty much like a 500 record, I think, in the UFC, but his wins are against legit guys. So, yeah, nice win for him, and he'll just keep on plugging away in that featherweight division.
Oh, yeah, it's something like 26 fights in the UFC or something.
Yeah,
like,
crazy.
You'd never think it. You would never even think it. You'd never even believe it. I was absolutely, when I heard it, I was shocked. Like, I knew he had well over 10. I thought it was more like 15, but 26, bloody hell, that lad's been around. And the thing is, he's evolving with the game. To be around for 26 fights and to evolve, it shows that he's a smart cookie. And to be fair, Gilbert Melendez, like you said, he could have easily went down at some point after falling down and just stayed down because his leg, but he's got that fighting mentality, bites that gum shield, gets up and just says, let's fucking go. How can you not love that? The only issue I have now is Gilbert Melendez has lost again.
Yeah.
He's only won once again. He's only won in the UFC against Diego Sanchez. He can't win. Like, he's getting paid quite a good bit of dollar by the UFC. Do you keep him? Will?
I think they'll give him one more fight, but it's I think it's going to be one of these fights where it's either do or die. If he doesn't win, then they don't keep him around. If he wins, they might give him another couple of fights. Melendez is on his way. He is projecting his way out the kind of door. He's got a nice job there with Fox. He's got his own gym. He does other things as well. I think he's on his way out. I mean, when he beat Sanchez, I think that was like UFC 166.
He's lost four in a row, mate. He's lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
That's
tough guys he's lost to as well, but
yes.
He's I mean, he came into that fight after being banned from USADA for popping for something. So I think his time is running very, very short, and it might not be a bad thing for him to step away and focus on other kind of endeavours outside the octagon.
Yeah, and he took a little bit longer off because his missus competes as well in Bellator, so he took a little bit of a break for his because I've interviewed Kerry. She's a lovely girl, and she was saying that Gilbert didn't take a fight because he wanted to help and train her, to help her focus, which is a beautiful thing to see. So yeah, the fight that the lads were talking about, Latifi and Pedro. Ian, bless him, said, "Come on, the Kiwi Pedro." He's not. He's Australian, but whatever. Latifi got the win, and I said to the lads, I said, the problem you've got to remember is Latifi is going to have to close that range down, and if he does, he's going to keep it a tight fight and grapple him, because that's the best way to beat Pedro, because of the height, the massive height difference. He did exactly what I thought he would. I thought Latifi was smart, because I didn't really see Latifi standing and banging for he couldn't do it for 3 rounds, especially after that knockout. Don't know how it affects the head against Bader, the knockout against Bader. And Pedro's only young. He's still a young kid in the game. I think Latifi was just a bit of a suave little vet, so to speak, in the UFC. Used the right methods and tactics to beat him. Tired. You saw Pedro was knackered at the end of the first. Did you see that, Will? I think he was in the corner, I tell you, he was sucking air up his ass in that. Like, he was wrecked. And Latifi was just like, yep, I'm going to do that again. If I can do another round of this and another. And he did. We did it at will almost. It was, for me, it was a growing period for Tyson Pedro. I'm glad he lost because I feel the UFC would have just pushed him a bit too quick because of that such a short, shallow, light heavyweight division. What did you think watching the fight, bro?
I actually think it's not a bad loss to have this young in your career. I mean, he is fighting out of Jackson's as well, so he's only going to learn from what he's lost here. And I mean, he's never been out of the first round, so he's got that extra 10 minutes of ring time. He's seen how more kind of experienced guys stick around and what kind of things they do, so he will learn from that. Latifi, he did the right thing after the Bader KO to like take a year off, reevaluate what was going on. Still don't think he's a great light heavyweight. It's just nothing really stands out to me. He's like built like a brick shithouse, pretty much. He's like so wide, like a fire hydrant, and he's got that. He's obviously got legit strength there to kind of throw you around, and he did that last night. Because I mean, Pedro's a unit. Pedro is a big dude, and once he puts it all together, if he puts it all together, he's going to be a scary dude as well. So, nice to see a European guy get the win. I'm sure we'll probably see him this side of the water, maybe early next year. Wouldn't surprise me if we've seen him in London next year, pretty high up in the main card spot there. Yeah, he's going to learn a lot from this, Pedro, and going forward, it will stand him in good stead.
Next up was a flyweight bout in Henry Cejudo against Wilson Reis. It was do or die for Henry Cejudo in the sense of he was on a two loss skid, going 0-3. That is a real big momentum killer, and especially in the flyweight division, that would have set him back quite a while to even put himself back in the picture if you lose 3 in a row, I suppose. But he came out, put on a performance of a lifetime. Let's get your opinion first, bro, what you thought about that whole fight. You still there, Will?
He looked incredible. I thought he looked absolutely unbelievable. I thought from the get-go, he put everything together. He was quick, he was sharp, he mixed it up. He had like a different stance, which was weird, but we've never seen that before. He kind of like Conor McGregor, and I could see it when I was watching it. I think somebody mentioned it on the broadcast, and you could see just a wider stance and fighting a little bit longer because he's not a big guy. His reach is not there, but he was extremely quick. And he did show that in the Benavidez fight before, that he's putting it all together. I still don't think he's even a matchup for Demetrius Johnson. I think DJ beats him pretty much in all facets. But I really want to see the Sergio Pettis Cejudo rematch that should have went down at UFC 211 for the simple reason I thought it was a close fight. We've seen that Pettis can go 5 rounds now, be methodical, be technical. But I think it's just a fight I really want to see, hopefully early next year. And both guys will probably end up facing DG again down the road. And but he looked incredible last night. That was the performance that really stood out for me, along with somebody we're going to speak about very, very shortly. But he looked incredible.
Yeah, he did look incredible. I think I was disappointed with Wilson Reis in the sense that he did not change, and I think one of the problems with Wilson Reis is he's usually the stronger guy in his bouts. If you've obviously watched his footage, he's usually the stronger guy, and that's what he likes to do. He likes to throw a strike to close a gap, to then use his strength to overpower the other flyweights. Henry Cejudo's a strong kid. That's his problem. He met a guy who could match him for strength, and the other issue was he kept going straight. So he'd come forward with his combinations, and all Henry Cejudo did, because he's got the boxing, he's got the little golden gloves bit, he just kept little short pop in of a counter, and that got Wilson Reis every time. All Wilson Reis needed to do was throw a fake, cut an angle, and then come back in to throw something different, but he didn't do anything. He just lunged forward and basically put more power into Henry's shots. It was shocking to watch it, really, because he just didn't evolve himself. But yeah, great performance though from Henry. Really patient, showed a little growth in the game, and that's all because he's getting some more ring time he gets, the better he'll get. But yeah, DJ would still walk through him. And next up, buddy, was a real matchup of little and large. Rafael dos Anjos against Neil Magny, which looked absolutely hilarious on the weigh-ins. But it was a matchup where you thought, look, huge advantage was Neil Magny. Long reach, just keep RDA on the end of your punches and you're fine. RDA fits the 170 weight class. He walks around close to 200 anyway. He's a big lad. The 155 cut was killing him because he was so big. He fits 170. You can tell he started to do the strength and the conditioning to get the size on again for the one to get a bit thicker and a bit stronger for 170. Just walked out. Happy to walk down Neil Magny. Got that lovely trip on Magny because got caught, swooped his leg, and that was the beginning of the end where Neil Magny just could not get Rafael off him, and that's all Rafael would need to do was get on top of him, and that would be it. And to be fair, I was overly impressed by Rafael. I did not expect him to finish him that easily. Talks now, people are saying maybe push him for a fight against Tyron Woodley, and I'm like, I'd like to maybe see him fight Jorge Masvidal or someone like that, but you know, whatever. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I mean, it did look very comical when you seen them standing next to each other and staring each other down. It was really, really funny. But he went in there and blasted Neil Magny. Magny just was put as soon as it's how I thought the fight might actually go. The closer the fight got, because the Maia fight always stood out in my head. Like strong jiu-jitsu guys who have got it there. If they get them down, they're going to work. They're going to work their way to a submission and get him, and that's what he did. As for Dos Anjos, I like him in that division. I actually think he could give Tyron Woodley problems. I really do. I think the fight was offered to him as well, so the UFC are going to push this guy as a contender very, very soon. Because if Maia never took that fight at 214, Dos Anjos was going to step in. Which was really, really interesting to hear, actually. But there is fights in there. I think he needs to win one more. Maybe I think a fight.
Yeah.
I like maybe a fight against, if Colby Covington comes through, Damian Maia. I think that's a fight you could put together. There's been beef with them in the past.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of Colby. I've actually met him. He's a really nice guy, but his persona he puts on is corny as fuck. And it's just not. I just don't like it personally. But he's trying to sell himself, and that's fine. He's trying to make himself more money through that and have more people coming at him, and that's fine. So, but he looked incredible. Interesting to see where he's going to go. I hope he gets a top kind of contender next in that division. Maybe even a Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler against RDA would be a good fight to see where both are. And then winner fights Woodley if he when he comes through maybe next year, whatever that may be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because Woodley's talked about wanting to fight the winner of Bisping and GSP. I think that's a silly move for him, but because I think Bisping's going to beat GSP, and I think Bisping would beat Tyron Woodley. Size would prevail in that matchup. Yeah, so we'll go to the main event, bud. Again, another dubious, controversial bout in the sense of judging. I don't know if there is, though. Okay, so you've got Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko. It went 5 rounds. I watched it back again because when you watch it first time, it's almost impossible to... Because I'm not watching the fight as a judge when I watch it first time. So I never really judge it properly. So I went back to watch it and try to be like a judge. I could see why it was given to Nunes. The problem is, I think the rounds were incorrect on one of the judges' scorecards for Nunes. One of them gave her round 3. Fucking no idea how they scored that. It's round 2. That's the dubious round. The problem you've got is... Where are you, Will? Come back to us, Will. There you are. The problem you've got with round 2 was it was so tight because not a lot happened. But Amanda Nunes had octagon control. In fact, she had it for all the rounds. So it was the counters that Valentina was landing. But the thing was, Nunes landed for some of her own shots. And I think it's that second round. If I was to judge it and watch it back, that was the one where, if I'm honest, I would have gave it a 10-all. Because I think Valentina landed better strikes. But the octagon control went to Nunes, and that's what's part of the judging criteria. So if I'm honest, I would have done that as 10-all, which then would have made it a draw. And I think hypothetically, I think a draw should have been the best outcome. We're looking at it, Will. What do you think, mate?
Well, I say I don't really judge many fights until the main event fights I usually judge. So, but you have to remember, when I'm judging these main event fights, we're watching this at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning with majority of the nights. And I usually go back and watch the fights in the afternoon when I get the opportunity. I haven't managed to get back and rewatch it, but I scored it. I picked Valentina before the fight. I thought she could stop Nunes. I thought Nunes was concentrating more on just surviving the 5 rounds than actually doing anything in that fight.
Yeah.
And I scored it for Nunes. I gave her 1, 3, and 5 personally. But maybe if I go back and watch it, I might see that the rounds you're talking about. And obviously Val had 2 and 4. So, but I thought that Valentina was landing the heavier strikes. She was counter-striking Nunes to death, pretty much.
Yeah.
The only thing that Nunes was really doing, it's like she was controlling the octagon, and really she controlled it for the full five rounds. Yeah. But our biggest thing that she did in that fight was actually the 2 takedowns in round 5. So I can see why Valentina's a little bit miffed that she never got the decision. I will go back and watch it and see if I scored it any different, but I did have it for Nunes. I was really wanting Valentina to win because I think there's more. She can bring more to that division, I think, and she could have opened up kind of super fights, possibly with Joanna and Jacek if she comes up and Valentina goes down, and there was that whole aspect. But Nunes, she's probably solidified herself as the best women's light bantamweight champion. That there's ever been. She's beat lots of big names. Actually, I think Kat Zingano really needs to come back. I think if Kat Zingano win a fight, she could definitely get in there and beat Nunes. We've seen her do it before. So I had it for Nunes. I thought it was close, but I can see why people gave it to Shevchenko as well.
Yeah, and again, that was the judging kind of aspect where it was poor judging in a sense that the fact that one scored it for Valentina and then 2 others scored it for Nunes. But the thing is, he scored different rounds for Nunes. That's the problem I have with it. It's a tough one because as well, the leg kicks that Nunes was landing were nowhere near the level of kicks that Valentina was. If you watched the damage on both legs, Nunes was not throwing much in them. But if you look at Nunes' leg, her leg was red raw because the power was in Valentina. Like you said, the counter striking was just more power. So, all powers to Amanda Nunes retaining the belt. I think, to be fair, I think she is a good representation as a champion. She's a good professional. She's not an asshole. I do like her, to be fair, in that sense. I don't think she's a negative aspect. I know some people can't quite get behind her. I suppose maybe it's just maybe the way her personality comes across. I think I don't know if it's a broken English, maybe. I don't know, because I think Valentina is a bit fun. The dancing and all that, and the guns. She's a bit badass when she goes shooting. I think I like that, if I'm honest with you. I like to go shooting, so I'm pretty much a Valentina Shevchenko fan. But, Raquel Pennington, it's a shame, because I think Raquel, maybe one more fight I would like to see, and then Raquel go in, but they'll probably throw her in there, mate. But yeah, all in all, it wasn't a bad card. Sadly, though, bro, we didn't have Demetrius Johnson defend his belt and set a record against Ray Borg, because Ray Borg had a bit of a lung infection or a viral infection and pulled out. And that's Ray Borg, who's only ever made 125 once, probably got himself into bad books. I think they might stick this fight now, mate, on a fight night card, if I'm honest with you. I would not be shocked if they stick this on a fight night card soon.
And maybe that's. I can see. I heard that they were trying to maybe put it on 216, the Lee Ferguson card, to try a quick turnaround again. But interesting to see where they're going to go. I think that Borg Johnson will want to probably keep the Borg fight if the infection's not that bad. See, I don't 100% believe it was an infection. I'm not.
No, I think it's the weight cut.
Yeah, because it was fine. Like, you watch the media interviews, and I know it's a different thing, but he sat there and he looked fine. It's the same as the Cejudo thing. Cejudo weighed in and then he pulled out with a hand in. No, he didn't weigh in. It was before the weigh-ins, and he said he had a hand injury. Yet when you ask some of the people that were actually in Dallas in the room, like the training rooms, and he was like pounding the bags and everything, and pounding like and just like in sparring before his fight. So something just doesn't sit right with me in that one. But it's a shame because I was looking forward to seeing DJ. DJ is. I'm really happy I actually got to watch Demetrius Johnson fight live once, because I think he's amazing to watch live. You think he's quick on the TV. When you see him in real life with your own eyes, it's like, whoa, that dude is fast. That he scoots himself around the octagon, and he just seems to be like 2-3 steps ahead, and he's just a really smart, very talented fighter who works very, very hard as well.
He does work hard. He is the ultimate professional. So coming up this week, we have the UFC back in Pittsburgh. Then you've got BAMMA is going down in the UK, and Cage Warriors. Now, to be fair, BAMMA 31 isn't the strongest card. And folks, there's a couple of alright fights out there, let's be honest. You've got Dominic Wooden against Jamie Powell. That'll be an alright scrap. You've got Damian Lapillus against Daniel Crawford. That's one to look out for. You've also got Nathan Jones against Alex Lohart. So that's not another bad scrap. The main event, it's a bit of a questionable main event. I suppose because it's for a vacant heavyweight title is the only reason it's getting the kind of status that it is Charlie Lewis Parry against Maurice Jackson. Now, Charlie Lewis Parry hasn't fought since 2014. Lots of controversy in his fight game since then. They had the disruption with ONE FC, the big controversy there, because he was meant to fight Brendan Vera, and that pulled out like last few days. It was meant to happen in the last few days. And then you had, he was meant to fight on Glory, pulled out again, I think like last minute again, so that was another one. And Maurice Jackson is a guy who's 3-2, and he doesn't fight very often. He's 36, 37, not the greatest in the world, Will. It's an event, it's a show that's happening, so, it's, yay. And, yeah, I don't know if you've got any opinions yourself on this card coming up.
I find it hard to watch BAMMA for the simple fact that they air it on when I'm working. I work late into the night, and there's not really many avenues to kind of watch it either. So,
no.
Whereas Cage Warriors, they've got it in Fight Pass, they've got it in BT, so you can always go back and I can record it and go back and watch. And I know that BAMMA's on Dave, and they've got a few select fights, but I don't think the main event's all that bad. I mean, they've got a belt up for grabs. Charlie Lewis Parry, he's a bit of a kind of bad boy. I think there was a whole John Jones thing when he was helping DC train for him as well. So I think that BAMMA, in the absence that Cage Warriors had, they did well for themselves.
Yeah.
I've always found myself to be more of a Cage Warriors guy myself. I do like the product. I like the production and everything with Cage Warriors. And when you know some of the people from Cage Warriors, you get behind them and you try and support them, because they're good people, they're good fans as well. So more interested in the Cage Warriors side than I really am the BAMMA. But I say if I get an opportunity maybe next Sunday before the NFL comes on, I'll probably watch a couple of fights from BAMMA and catch up if I can.
And also, Cage Warriors has signed up with it's a channel called Free Sports. So that's another avenue for people to access it. So it's almost like you can't not watch it. It's there. It's everywhere. And how BAMMA have not bothered to pull their thumb out their ass is beyond me. There's no excuse. There's no excuse not to have it for people to watch. So yeah, Cage Warriors, like we said, they're on this weekend as well. Like you said, the product's great. This card is absolutely solid, mate. There's some cracking fights on the card. We said before, Hakon Foss against Jamie Robinson is a good scrap to look out for, people. You've also got Joe McLaughlin against Sean Carter. Now, Joe McLaughlin's still young in the game in his pro career, but he's a very good fighter. Against Sean Carter, who lost his last outing, got heel hooked. But Sean Carter, very experienced guy, always good. Always good. Really nice guy, Sean. I've trained with him down at BKK. Love the guys down there. That's going to be a great little bout, in my opinion. Sam Creasy against Paul Marin. Awesome little matchup again. You've got Dean Truman was meant to fight Corey Eaton, but that fight fell through, sadly. That would have been a great scrap if that fight had stayed on the card as well. but sadly that one pulled over. I'm sure they'll get rematched and rebooked soon as. Jason Radcliffe's back in Cage Warriors after losing. Sadly, I think it's a bit too soon for him against Alan Carlos. But then the main event, buddy, is Nathaniel Wood against Josh Reed. Title on the line. Nathaniel Wood, young kid, trains at Team Titan with Brad Pickett and those boys there. Great little camp. You got Josh Reed, again, trains with some great guys at Artillery Combat with Jack Marshman, Jack Shaw. Great little team there. Good promising UK fighters, though, aren't they, Will? Let's be honest. Let's look at that side of things.
Yeah, they are. The one thing we'll keep an eye on the kind of UK MMA scene, but I always have a look at the talent coming through, and Wales, I think, by far have some of the best talent coming out of that country. And I think Cage Warriors are cultivating the talent really well. They've got like Cage Warriors Wales, the academy thing down there. I think that's with Richard Shaw.
It is, because it used to be Pain Pit, was it? It used to be Pain Pit, and then Cage Warriors,
And they've so they're putting on events down there. They're cultivating talent. Cage Warriors are putting a little bit into that. So, and the main event's really, really solid. I like Nathaniel Wood. I think he's a really solid fighter. He's taken his losses in the past. I thought he looked phenomenal against Kovacevic last time out. But Josh Reed is a tough guy. I think he's coming into this one with a lot of confidence, undefeated obviously. But I think that Nathaniel Wood has just got a little bit too much. I think he's a little bit quicker as well. And I think that'll show just the more experience. And he's been in there and he's lost to good guys as well as Nathaniel Wood. But a really solid card. When I'm looking at it here, and it's Lou Long fighting in that card as well, I see, against Gail Grimaud.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Lou Long.
Yeah, so I thought that was I thought this was a later date as well. So, I mean, really, really solid fight card. I'll definitely be tuning in as soon as I finish work next week. Is it a Saturday or a Friday it's on?
I'm sure it's Saturday.
So, yeah, it's on a Saturday. It's on a Saturday. Yeah.
What is Saturday next week? Saturday 16th. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so it's on the Saturday. I will definitely be tuning in. I don't miss too many Cage Warriors fights when I have the opportunity, because I am a fan. I have been for a long time. But really solid card from top to bottom. And I mean, going forward, like you were saying as well, for Cage Warriors to put themselves out there on another platform for people to see the organisation, I think it's top notch and something that BAMMA should really be learning from, in all honesty.
Yeah, they will. But the thing is, I've got to be honest with you, on social media, they're a bit smarmy, BAMMA. A bit smarmy about Cage Warriors, some of the stuff that Cage Warriors do. And I'm like, well, to be fair, people, they are getting a bit more attention than you. Let's be brutally honest. People talk about Cage Warriors a lot more than BAMMA. So take it on the chin and take a leaf out of their book. So we're going to move on. That's UK MMA kicking off. It's good to see the UK MMA scene coming back with some big cards. And Cage Warriors got some awesome cards coming up, leading up. Anyway, Will, they've got some awesome ones in the pipeline. Never mind just this one coming up. But we're going to go to Pittsburgh Steelers now. Pittsburgh UFC Fight Night card. It's the main event is Luke Rockhold against David Branch. We'll reach that in a moment. We're just going to quickly go over some of the fights on the card, because to be honest with you, this card is one of the better fight night cards for a while. I'm really looking forward to some of these fights. Like I say, Gregor Gillespie against Jason Gonzalez. Solid little matchup. You got beautiful boxing from Gillespie. Probably expect Gonzalez to get finished there by Gillespie pretty quick. You've got Gilbert Burns against Jason Sago. I love that matchup because I want to see how Gilbert Burns has been training with Henry Hooft to get his conditioning up with his striking, because that guy has a couple of times I feel he just gasses a bit too quick because he's a bit too explosive. I want to see how he does. Jason Sago is one of the, if he just wasn't so injury bloody prone, he'd be one of the better fighters in that division. Really good, promising fighter. Justin Ledet was meant to fight Dmitry Sozunovsky, but now we've got Annie, are you okay? Stepping in, he was on the Tuesday Night Contender. Probably Ledet, if I'm honest with you, will get the boxing hands out there and probably get the finish with the hands. Look at those three fights quickly. What do you think on your thoughts on those three, bro?
Well, Gregor Gillespie, I think he's a legit talent. I shouldn't really say this because the fight hasn't taken place. I think it's a gimme fight. I don't see any aspect where Jason Gonzalez even worries Gregor Gillespie. I know he's a bigger guy, maybe a little bit, well, maybe not so strong, but he's the bigger guy. But
He's
being the bigger
taller,
guy
yeah.
doesn't really mean so much. Yeah, considering we had Neil Magny, who was the bigger guy, and he got starched inside 3 or 4 minutes last night. But Gregor Gillespie is a talent, a really, really solid contender at 155. I think he'll run through Jason Gonzalez. Justin Ledet, I think his boxing is going to be too crisp. Has to watch out for the power of his opponent, but I mean, it'd be interesting to see him as well, because he's come back after, I think it was steroids or something he popped for.
Yeah.
So,
or dick pills, probably excuses, dick pills, still all happen.
Yeah, who knows? I think his striking's going to be too technical for this guy. I think his opponent, Aniwu, I think will definitely gas himself out, and Ledet will take advantage. And the Sago Burns one is a really solid one, because I've always been pretty high on Gilbert Burns, but I think Jason Sago can maybe nullify him in some areas, and I think this is going to become I think when it goes to the ground, I think that Sago can maybe stick around. So if this goes to the feet, it'll be interesting to see where Gilbert Burns' striking has come through, because I always thought his striking's looked okay, but he's just never put it all together. I'm a little bit undecided in how I'm going to pick that one. So far, I need to watch some more fights of both guys just to see if I can see anything, but close fight.
It is going to be. That's what I love about that matchup. But one fight that's, I think, going to go under the radar is Usman against Moraes. That's going to go under the radar big time. And to be honest with you, Usman, we met him in Glasgow. Such a nice bloke. The thing is, he's killing the welterweight division. He's going through people. He's winning his fights, doing what he needs to do. He's a quiet guy in that way. He's not like Colby Covington. And Sergio Moraes is a solid guy, and he's a strong guy. I want to see if Usman's going to be using his hands a lot more, see if he can keep on the feet a lot longer. I want to see all that work he's done with Henry Hoof. I want to see it. I want to see where he's getting, how good his game is on the feet. Because what if he fights a guy who can stop him getting him down? You've got to use your hands. We need to see that. He needs to get a bit more comfortable with throwing. I think it's a tough fight for Usman. I do. I think Sergio Moraes is such a veteran, such a smart guy. I think it's a tough one for Usman, but I probably see Usman pull through it. I think I can just see him getting through this fight.
It's like Usman. The guy's a gentle giant, pretty much. He's a very, very quiet guy, but a really nice guy to kind of be sitting around talking to, just asking him questions. But I thought he looked really, really dominant in his last fight against Sean Strickland, and his striking looked improved. Strickland with some big shots on his feet, and that's something that he'd never shown before in the Alves, the Yakovlev, Leon Edwards fight. It was all about his grappling in that one, in those fights. So he's beginning to put it all together. I think he's beginning to get more confident in his striking, and that's only going to lead him forward, going into future matchups. I think that he can bully Sergio Moraes here. I think he can put him against the cage and unload him with him shots. He wants nothing of Sergio Moraes on the ground. You have to be careful with that guy down there. But Moraes, I mean, he's dangerous. He's finished some fights in the third round. So, I like Usman in that one. I think maybe get a finish, but more than likely it's going to be a decision.
Yeah, he is the decision finisher, isn't he? One fight that's gone under the radar again, I think Jotko versus Uriah Hall is an interesting match, because for me, Uriah Hall, he's at a crossroads with his UFC career, I think, because he's losing too many, in my opinion. He gets the odd win here and there. He got that win against Mousasi, but you can't write off that one win. Jotko, I think Jotko's too well rounded to lose to Uriah Hall. I think Uriah Hall likes guys who are quite flat-footed, and not like Jotko, who is moving, good footwork, good angles. The problem with Uriah Hall is he likes to go a bit sporadic, a bit wild with his strikes. If a guy's not flat-footed, the guy's out of the way before the strike's landed. I've got Jotko on this one all day, in my opinion, mate.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Jotko he's too controlled, I think, in every aspect of his game. I think it was a tough loss against David Branch. I don't think he showed up in that one. I think if he did, he would have won the fight. But I think as long as he doesn't get caught with the flashy stuff, tries to maybe grapple with Uriah Hall, I think he can win this fight 9 out of 10 times. thing is with Uriah Hall, he's so unpredictable with those strikes. Sometimes when his head's in the game, he shows up and he looks phenomenal like he did against Masasi. But then the next Masasi fight, he looked absolutely terrible. Masasi absolutely starched him. And I mean, it's hard to get behind him as well because we've been in these kind of around him, and he's not the most entertaining guy to be around. You don't go and really want to say hello to the guy. He doesn't really float my boat, to say the least. I think I really want Jotko to win this one. He's a European fighter, so I always try and support the European guys if I can. But I think in all aspects, he can control this fight and win a fairly convincing decision.
Yeah, I think so too. I wouldn't be surprised if he finished Uriah Hall, if I'm honest with you. Next up, we have the heavyweight scrap. Daniel Spitz, who lost to Mark Godby in his last outing, is fighting Anthony Hamilton, who, in my opinion, is a guy, if you're a heavyweight and you want to get a finish, he is your man you want to fight. The guy will fight you and swing, but he's not very good technically. He's not very good at taking a punch. If Spitz is going to get a finish, this is the man to get it against, to get his UFC heavyweight career off and going. And I really can see it happening, especially because Hamilton got that sparked out by Ventura in that last fight, and that was a bad knockout. I think he's come back too soon again. I think Hamilton's been finished too many times in recent, in the past, in collective times over this recent period of years. I don't like the fact that he's having another fight again. I think that he needs to take a bit of time, take time off, because he's getting hit hard in a few fights the way his style is. I'm pretty much going here with Spitz. I don't know about yourself, bro.
I mean, Anthony Hamilton just has no chin, and fighting in the heavyweight division. I mean, he got knocked out by Fortuna, who's not a heavyweight.
No.
So if you're fighting the heavyweight division, you're kind of asking for trouble. So, and if you have no chin, you're in deep doo-doo. So, interesting to see this one, because I think he's going to come out and want to take Spitz down. Spitz is a former football player who's got fairly decent takedown defense. And if Spitz keeps it standing, I think he'll land something that could rock Hamilton. But I think if this hits the ground, I think that Hamilton could pound out Daniel Spitz. At the minute, I'm kind of 50-50. Because I have a feeling that Hamilton is just going to win a grapple. And I think Spitz will tire and he will get him down. So I think right now I'm edging Hamilton. But I am not confident in picking kind of any of these guys, if I'm being honest with you. Anything could really happen with these two.
The next up we got, I think it's a tougher match than it looks. I think you got Oliver Aubin Mercier against Tony Martin. Now Tony Martin, solid fighter, can't knock that kid, but Mercier is starting to put it together. The dude he's just so well rounded. Mercier, he's not the best striker, he's not the best grappler, but he's good at them all. Do you know what? He's got a good, and I think Tony Martin, for me, this is the kind of fight Tony Martin, to see if he's going to ready for that next level. This is what I see this fight as for him. But I could see Mercier really just doing a lot of grappling damage, trying to tire Tony Martin out. But this one I think it's a lot tighter than it looks. I don't know about you, Will, but yeah, I'm probably going to go for Mercier in this one.
Yeah, I'm struggling with a pick here because I think Martin has made significant improvements. I mean, there's somebody that we didn't mention at 215 last night, but Alex White completely wiped the floor with Mitch Clark, completely destroyed him. And
yes, he did, yeah.
This was at 145 when that fight took place. Alex White looks a different guy up at 155. So fighters, if you're cutting weight, just don't do it. Fight in natural weight or weight above. Against Johnny Casey, he looked very, very good. That was a grudge match as well from many, many years ago. Growing up in the circuit before they come into the UFC, the local circuit, the regional circuit.
The underground.
Yeah.
Fight club.
It's interesting because Mercier I think he's one of these fighters that you've seen between fights. He shows you something different. He's got really strong leg kicks. He's starting to establish a strong jab. And on the ground, he's very, very good down there as well. But you look at the people that he's beat, like Jake Lindsay, terrible. Tony Sims, terrible. David Michaud comes from the lab. He's pretty solid. Not really solid, but he's tough. and he got a nice submission victory there. Thibault Gote, I don't rate him. Drew Dober, tough, but I think I'm really struggling with that one. I don't know.
It's hard,
I don't
isn't
know.
it?
Yeah, it's a tough fight. It's a coin flip fight. I think that Tony Martin fought not so long ago, and he says that he's heavier at this point than he really should be. So this guy, if he's saying that, this guy's going to gas a little bit. So if he's heavier than he should be, but I think I'm edging Robin Mercier, but it's very, very close.
Next up is a fight I think is set up for Anthony Smith to really get himself in a middleweight mix, establish himself as a potential perennial contender, facing Hector Lombard. You know, Hector Lombard tried 170, didn't work, tried 185. I don't think it's worked either in 185. I just think Hector Lombard, when he got to the UFC, he was in a horrible guy to fight, horrible matchup. But when he gets to that elite level, the guy's just can't cut the mustard. And Anthony Smith is a bit of a height difference here, folks. Bit of a reach difference. I think Anthony Smith is going to weather the storm, tough cookie. I think he's going to get Hector Lombard, and I think he's going to get him out there. And I think the UFC might say bye-bye to Lombard.
Yeah, I think like Lombard gets paid a lot as well. So he's these guys like your Melendez and your Lombard. These guys are people that the UFC I don't think would mind getting rid of for the simple fact they would save so much money in paying their purses and stuff like that. Anthony Smith is a guy I've never really liked. I know Mike Biggie Rhodes was calling this guy out for years to fight this guy, even locally last, I think maybe 2 years ago, when both were outside the UFC and he wanted none of Biggie, saying that Biggie wasn't on his level, which is complete BS. Because when Biggie puts it together, I think he'll be a solid UFC fighter. But that journey, you've just got to take those steps in those journey. And I think his first run in the UFC, I think he fought tough guys. I mean, Eric Silva and Robert Whittaker. So I've never been the biggest fan of Anthony Smith, but I think in this matchup, all you have to do is survive that first round with Lombard, and then he is there to be exposed, and you can get him out of there. So I think the UFC are trying to get Anthony Smith to kind of win this fight and get rid of Hector Lombard. Then he can be expendable. But Hector Lombard could crack that chin in the first round. That's what I'm a little bit worried about. I think I'm going to edge Smith. But I've got a funny feeling Lombard might catch him with something in the first, but I'm going to go Smith in this one.
It is, yeah. There was nothing saying that one punch can't finish this fight. And Hector Lombard is one of them guys. The next fight, I think, is one for the violence. And you've got Thiago Alves against Mike Perry. I spoke to you before. Well, Thiago Alves, he doesn't keep a consistency these days with his performances. He tried to go down at 155. It wasn't a silly idea. He's to go back to 170. He's a guy who can when he puts it on, he's on fire. But with Mike Perry's one of the guys. He only has to hit you once, and then your game plan goes out the window. All common sense goes out the window, and then you're running around trying to avoid getting hit again by one of those because you're on fucking planet cuckoo land. I think I can see Alvarez getting stopped by Mike Perry because of the wars that Thiago Alves has been in over the years, and the kind of damages he's had on his body. He's taken quite a toll of injuries. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Perry stopped this guy. You know, for Mike Perry, it's an ideal kind of fight to get a good name on his record as well.
Yeah, I'm a little bit struggling with this fight because I think Mike Perry can be beaten. I think if you've got the right game plan. The Alan Jouban fight showed that if you can pick and pop and move, you can frustrate Mike Perry. I think Thiago Alves, actually, he has that in his repertoire, and I think he can do it. The one thing is with Mike Perry, all it takes is one shot with that guy. And I think that Alves is a little bit suspect to a big shot. So it'll be interesting to see if Mike Perry comes in here, stays technical, and waits for his opportunity and kind of chase down Alves a little bit. And once he hits that one shot, then take him out. The one thing that I didn't really understand is this Thiago Alves, is he's staying in Florida. Now, this round about the next few hours that Florida's going to be hit, if it's not been hit already, with that hurricane that's coming through. If I was in Florida, I would have got myself out of there now. I know family's there and so on, but I would have got out of there and try and focus. I would have probably took my family away as well and try and focus on the fight, because being like 4 or 5 days before a fight, 5, 6 days, however, whatever it is, and have that coming through on your doorstep is something. It's some crazy shit. And just a shout out to the people, if there's anybody from Florida that listens. I know MMA Kelton, MMA Gods, who make YouTube prediction videos, they both live in Tampa Bay, and that's where the hurricane's going to hit. I hope those guys can stay safe, families stay safe, and get through this hard time, and can try and get back some normality, because I can't imagine having to kind of live through that or even anticipate something like that. But getting back to the fight, I think it's close. I see Perry catching him with a shot. I am not counting out Thiago Alves though, because I think he can pick and pop and win rounds. But in the end, I see Perry catching him with something and putting him to sleep.
Yeah, it's like you say. I don't know why Thiago Alves just doesn't go to Pittsburgh now, or even, if I'm honest with you, Wednesday last week, so midweek last week, easily could have went to the hotel, went to the hotel for an extra few days, went and gone and trained at a gym. Plenty of gyms there. I'm pretty sure his coach would be happy to go over there rather than sit around in Florida. You're right. You bang on there, Will. But main event time. Luke Rockhold is back against David Branch. Big fight for Luke Rockhold after the controversial kind of discussions he had about comments he had about the UFC as well. After he got knocked out by Bisping, bit of time away, ran his mouth a little bit. He's back in against David Branch. Again, David Branch came in, got a split decision win against Jotko, who's also on the card. But he's a guy who's fought in 2 weight classes, 185, 205. Rockhold is a big 185er. So I don't think there's going to be a problem of size, like out overpowering. It's a one. There's kind of Luke Rockhold's not been at AKA. He's been with Henry Hoof for a while as well. So he's not been just recently gone. He's been there for a little while now, training with like Robbie Lawler. He's been sparring with him and stuff. There's been training with a lot of guys. I'm hoping that Henry Hoof's sharpen up his skill set, especially in his striking. I'm looking forward to seeing what Rockhold comes back, what mentality he has, how he approaches the fight, and how he deals with David Branch. I'm looking forward to the return of Luke. I do see Luke winning, and that's only because of the kind of ways he can win, I think, outweigh the ways David Branch can win. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's good to see Rockhold back. I think the middleweight division needs him there. He's always going to be a tough fight for anybody who's up at the top of that division. David Branch is a spoiler fighter. He's a tough guy to... I mean, since his first UFC run, he put himself a great run together and World Series of fights. Now, I know he's not fighting the top talent there is in that organization. Well, he's fighting the top talent outside the UFC. In the UFC, the talent is just on a different level altogether. But he beat Jotko, as I say. I don't think Jotko really turned up for that one. I think if he did, he would have won. But Branch, I think, can be a little bit of a spoiler here. But I think the defining factor is, what does Luke Rockhold look like with a legit striking coach in Henry Hoof? Because we've seen... The last time we've seen Luke Rockhold, he got by Michael, who doesn't really knock people out. So has this guy got a little bit of a chin issue? Did he just get hit in the right spot and Bisping followed it up with his strikes? But I'm interested to see what Rockhold, because he's always been fairly decent. He's very long for the division. He hits very hard with body kicks and leg kicks. If he can, I think he's going to want to attack the body of David Branch. I think. Yeah. Hit him with some liver kicks and try and hurt him from there. I think really interesting fight to see where Rockhold is with Henry Hoof. I was really intrigued to actually see him go to a different camp, because he's always been very, very 100% with AKA. So dividing time between both camps is quite interesting. So I've got Rockhold. I've got him in the mid rounds to potentially stop David Branch, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if David Branch made this a really tough, great fight and it went 5 rounds and he won rounds against Rockhold as well.
No, it wouldn't, because he is a vet. He's fought a lot of different guys. He's a very experienced guy, so I'm looking forward to seeing how the fight goes down as well, bro. We're going to go to kind of question time. We had, do you know what? It's a quiet week, people. Quiet week. Open your mouths. Get involved. But we had Adam message us. We were going to talk about UFC Gantz, even though we talked about it last time. But he came back, Will, with the question of, who do you think the potential matchups for Jimmy Manuwa at Gantz are? Could it be, he said he's thinking Volante or bring back Krylov. Now, the problem with Krylov, I think, might be contractual, so it might be not be able to do that. I think Krylov, letting him go is a sin. But what's your opinions and thoughts on who Jimmy Manuwa could or should face at UFC Gantz?
Yeah, well, I've heard through the grapevine from a couple of people that it's Gian Volante, and then I've heard from a few other people that saying it's not Gian Volante, but I think we'll expect to hear something very, very soon. It's going to be the co-main event no matter what it is. I think Volante's a very good fight for Manuwa, but
Yeah.
I think that Volante could crack the chin of Manuwa. Manuwa's he's been put down a couple of times now, and it's not like he's getting younger either. So Volante, although not being great, is a good fight for Manuwa to kind of rebound after that devastating loss at 214. But I'm really happy. I know I think we're going to talk a bit about it, maybe a little bit, but like it's really actually good to see the UFC put a fairly decent main event in Gdansk. I didn't expect Donald Cerrone to main event in Poland, and I certainly didn't expect a main event against Darren Till. I think that fair play to Darren Till for taking the fight. He's not been beaten. He's got an opportunity to face the Cowboy, who's one of the biggest fan favourites for the UFC. But I think it's fairly clear that he's on the back end of his career. But I still thought he looked great against Robbie Lawler, in all honesty, back at 214 at the end of July. But interesting matchup. I've got a feeling that Till could come out strong, and then I can see Cerrone taking over. But I'm really happy that Europe got a really big star from the US that's coming over. I'm a little bit... it's one of the guys I've never actually got to meet, is Cowboy Cerrone. I've always wanted to meet him. But interesting fight, and I'm really happy for the guys going over to get someone like Cerrone as their main event.
Yeah, me too.
Carolina got a fight as well, so that's decent as well.
Yes, against Jodie Escobar, which I think, in my opinion, is a pretty unfair fight. You talk about gimme fights, I think that's a gimme fight for Carolina. I think she's too good for that. I think it's a bit of a gimme fight. I'm a bit good now. I'm not going to that card, if I'm honest with you. I even messaged Darren Till the other day to say about the fight and that, and I told him I was pretty good. I had a bit of a giggle with Darren. He's a good egg, but it's Donald Cerrone in Europe. Great little name to stick on there. Jimmy Manuwa, though, like you said, you're bang on. He's just only it's only recently got flatlined. And then last time he got before that was Anthony Johnson, and then Gustafsson before that, if I recall. So it was 3. You're right. Yeah. You can become chinny, especially with those. Those were 3 big knockouts as well, all 3 of them. They weren't like TKOs where you get put on your ass and you're putting your hands up, you're fighting back a bit, but you're a bit on Queer Street. The referee stops it. They were 3 hard fit. Like, he got put to sleep. Like, he was fucked. I do agree with you, Will. I think Volante could potentially do it, but I just don't see it. Because Volante isn't that good technically striking. He's just not that good. He's just in the UFC because light heavyweight division ain't that great, and there's guys below him he can beat that keep him in there. He's a kind of one win one, lose one, win one, lose one. Never going to be in the top 6. I really do see Jimmy Manuwa just going through him like a hot knife through butter, if I'm brutally honest with you. I think a flying like shot, just Gian Volante just throwing something to finish him is the only thing I could land. As for other matchups, it's a light heavyweight division. It's a bit thin. It's a bit bare. It's a bit who hasn't he fought? Who can we match him up with? It is a tough one, that light heavyweight division. But yeah, if it's that matchup, fair enough. You know, and also they'll get Matt Serra and Ray Longo in Poland, jammy bastards, because they are awesome.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah,
awesome.
They are awesome. They are. they are an absolute riot when they're together, and it's
Yeah.
I think it was Manchester years ago when Ali Akinta was fighting, and I literally spent probably a good part of 6-7 hours with those guys in the hotel drinking, and they are an absolute riot. They're some of the nicest guys you'll ever meet as well. So it's a shame that if they do come over to Poland, that we're not going to be at that event. I'd love to meet them again. So yeah, but nice to say again. Great to see Poland getting a really showcase fighter in the main event.
And Will, that's a card that I was at as well, that you and I didn't even meet. We hadn't even met by then, and I was there. How?
Yeah,
See,
I think.
that's crazy.
Did you ask a question to Mr. Chael's son in at the Q&A?
I did ask a question at the Q&A.
I did, because that's what I remember that the very first time. I think that's the first time I've seen or heard of you, because I was at the other end of the weigh-ins in that little place there. So that's the first time I remember seeing or hearing of you. So yeah, we never knew each other then. So yeah.
That's weird, but yeah, bro, that was that Gans card, the Gans card, it's slowly growing a little bit better than it was previously. I think everyone was worried. Squeaky bum time for people that were going over. It's starting to come through. But look, we've got loads of fights coming, people. Like we said, it's building up, Will. We said it's built up this year. There's a load of fights coming up this week. We're looking forward to watching them. People, comment below. This is going to be on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes. Get comments below, feedback. Come on, join in. We want everyone to join in and join us. Again, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. Will, thank you. It's been awesome, bro, as always.
Thank you, mate. I say, guys, just get in contact, help us grow. That's what I say. It's actually quite a tough thing to actually get a podcast up and running and trying to get people behind it. So we need your support. Send in some questions, anything you want to ask, literally anything regarding the sport you want to ask. Just get in touch with us and come and follow us at MMA Huddle on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Come and speak to us. Let us know what you think. And I say this, like we said in the first episode, we're going to really make a run this year to try and see what we're going to do, and then next year we're going to try and put some things in place a bit more concrete. So just get in touch and show your support.